Hello everyone. Alright, let's get started slowly. I hope everyone can hear me alright. By the way, if you have any questions during this entire webinar, just let me know through the chat and I'll respond to every question if I can. Alright, let me share my screen and let's get started. Let's see. Okay, so this webinar will outline the process of creating a contacts database and creating contacts records under that database, and we will talk a little bit about linking. And if you have any related questions or unrelated questions, just let me know through the chat. The chat is when you hover on your screen where I'm presenting. There should be a chat bubble on the top middle, and you can click on that to let me know if you have any questions. Alright, so let's get started, and just let me know if I'm going too fast as well. I'll try to go as slow as possible. Alright, so when you're creating a new sheet in Ragic, it's basically a collection of your data, but it will make you start through a form page. So basically, we're going to create an empty form for our contacts now. So I'm creating a new sheet under my Accounts tab called Contacts. Alright, so the access right setting over here is it shows who can access this sheet and what kinds of rights they have. There are a bunch of settings over here, and this is important if you have multiple users in your account, and you can learn more about these settings through here. Alright, I'll create my contact sheet. Oh, by the way, the access rights can be changed afterwards, so you don't really have to worry too much about it in the beginning when you're designing all your sheets. Alright, so for my contact sheets, I'm going to need a few types of data about my contacts. So first of all, I would like to start with a contact ID. Now you can notice I am just typing on an empty cell over here, so that will make me name the header of the field, and when this is done and when I'm saving, this will be an empty form. So this is basically my contact ID field, and the value will come here afterwards. Okay, so I want my contact ID to be generated by Ragic instead of like having a contact ID put there manually. So I'll just click auto generate. These are the field types available in Ragic, so there are a bunch of these settings. It might look a little confusing at first, but basically the free text is whatever you want to enter manually, and selection would be listing a few selection options. And what I'm doing right now is the auto generate. So Ragic will let me generate a number for each contact. So I can change the formatting here. So this will generate a number for my contacts with contact hyphen something. You can also change that to something else. For example, C hyphen a number. So my first contact would be C1. And there are many formatting options that you can choose from, and you can create your own format if you want to afterwards. Alright, moving on. The reason I wanted to put a contact ID there is because my contacts, I'm going to usually identify them with the first name and the last name, but a lot of people have the same first names and last names, so it's always a good idea to have a unique identifier like the contact ID that will differentiate John Doe from John Doe. Alright, moving up, I want to have their phone number. And you can see I typed phone, and Ragic changes the field type to phone automatically. So there are a few keywords that Ragic understands and changes the field type into. If you don't want that particular field type, you can still change it manually. back to anything else. And you can also, with a phone field, change the formatting. So I'm just gonna choose this standard US and New Zealand formatting because it just will format the phone numbers into this format with a 3 digits area code and a hyphen in between to make things easier. And then I'll have the address of my contact, which is going to be an address field, as Ragic understood what I'm trying to do. And I think I want to have a wider field for here. So I'm just going to add some column span in here to make things prettier, basically. Alright, so let's save. If anyone has any questions up to this point, please write through the chat. Alright, so when I exit this for the first time after I designed this form, you can see it takes me to an empty form, and I can create a new entry by clicking this Create New Record button over here. So I'll add my first contact to this empty form. Let's say we have a Peter Parker and a mock phone number. As you can see, it automatically formatted my phone number according to what I picked in the design. Well, let's say his address was okay, and save. Alright, so you can see that this is number 1 contact. Now let's add a new other contact to see what happens. We'll just quickly go through this. Okay, address. And save. Okay, so what happens is I have 2 contacts in my database, and since I added these both through the form page, you won't really notice at first, but there's a really practical way of looking at your data in Ragic. If you go to click on this arrow over here, it says back to listing when you hover on it. And if you click on that, it will take you to a view which we call the listing page. Basically, this listing page is displaying all of your entries in a spreadsheet type of view. So you can see the headers over here are field names, and the related fields are listed in rows underneath. So that's basically the most spreadsheet-like thing Ragic has. It displays your data in this format. By the way, I'll just widen this address field a little bit over here. Save. Alright, obviously you can choose what to display on the listing page, even though you don't really want to probably display all of your fields if you have a lot of fields in your form page. It's always a good idea to display as less information as possible in the listing page, because you don't really want to have too many clutter, and what you need at a glance is basically the things you want to display here. And all of your fields are still going to be in your form page. For example, if I removed from the listing page design over here, change design, so you're going to see there are some selected fields underneath. So if I remove the address from my listing page, it wouldn't really make a much of a difference because the data is still stored in your database, and if I clicked on any of these records, it will still show me the address. Also, if I wanted to go back and search for an address from my listing page, I can still do it here. So you can see there's a all of my fields under here, and if I wanted to search for, let's say, 20 Ingram, it will show me the related record. So it will show me Peter Parker's record over here, and if I click on it, his address is right there. So any questions so far? For the latecomers, if you hover on the presentation, you'll see the chat bubble on the middle of your screen, top middle of your screen. So if you have any questions up to this point, just let me know, or if you have unrelated questions, still write them and I'll get back to you, because we'll have a Q&A session at the end. Alright, moving on. So let's say that I have a lot of customers and I want to add them as the contacts under here. Oh, by the way, it's still filtered, so I'm gonna press clear filter to see all my contacts. Alright, so let's say I want to have a log on how I contact these people and see all interactions afterwards. This can get a little tiresome, especially if you, for example, are doing sales and you have a bunch of salespeople who all log into your database and you need to keep track of everything. By the way, quick tip, if you want to see who edited, created, or changed a record, there's always that's always accessible through the eye icon over here. So if you click, it will show the history of your record. So it's showing me that I created this contact at 10 a.m. Well, 10 a.m. system time, it's 11 a.m. on my time right now. And it shows me the details. So if I had modified it, for example, okay, let's modify this. If I modify it, it will show me that I modified it as well. And then if you click, you'll see the detail of the modification right underneath. So that's a great tip if you want to track who did what. But if we want to track what we did with the contact, you can still use the comments over here. If you write comments and your coworkers are using this all the time, that's fine as well. But if you want it in the database, you probably want to add it in here. So let's say we have multiple contacts with Harry Osborn. How are we going to track that? Okay, so what I like to do is create a subtable underneath this form. So what's a subtable? Let's say we have a contact record ID. Let me widen this column a little bit. Okay, so the contact ID record is basically going to be a number that is generated by Ragic, showing me every contact record as a number to identify all my contact points. So I also want a type of contact. So that turns into a selection field because I wrote type, but basically I was going to do the same thing. Selection. So what is selection? I have a few different options that I want my users to choose from. So this can be my contact with this person, can be a phone call, an email, a support chat request maybe, or a meeting. Alright, that's I guess enough. And details. We want some details about this contact, contact record, and then date probably. So we can have a time. Well, you can add the timestamp if you want. I'll just write the calendar date instead. That's easier. But basically on the date formatting, you can have different formats as well as, and we do have some custom formatting options if you're interested in that. Anyway, I'll save this first. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so correspondence with this person, Harry Osborn. Oh, by the way, when I change the design of the form, it will be changed in every record. So if I went to Peter Parker, he also has this contact record subtable over here. Okay, so let's go back to Harry Osborn. And this first field will be generated just like I did in the contact ID. And the type, let's say he called us, asked for information, and then it was the 1st of this month. And then let's say we emailed him and sent info. And this happened on the 4th. And if you have different users that are filling this form, you can have a user that is defaulted to the current user as well in the subtable, so the possibilities are quite endless. And let's say we met meeting for quote on the 5th. So these will all be saved under Harry's record. And you can see that the new subtable fields I added are also on the left sidebar over here. So if you ever needed to look for all the meetings under all your contacts by type, you can do so. And you can have as many criteria as you need from here while searching for data. So that makes things much easier for me and my hypothetical salesperson. And although this is quite easy to see one person's data, what if I wanted to see all contact records under all my contacts? So what I'm going to do basically is a type of linking that is available in Ragic. I can create a new sheet, just like my contact sheet that I created over here. I can create a new sheet that will collect all the subtable records. So the way to do that is through change design. So this happens for existing subtables. And you can see the linking options over here. We have quite a few. So this is one that is generated from subtables. So I'll click new sheet from subtable here. And it will ask me if I want to create a new form from this subtable. And yes, sure, I want to do that. Okay. Alright, so you can see that my contact records are already automatically listed, and the contact ID, which was the key to identify all my contacts in my main account contact sheet, is automatically listed. So that's our link that identifies where this contact record belongs. Yes, if you wanted to see Harry's name as well under this, you can add other standalone fields from my that will be linked through the contact ID. So if you click sheet linking tools again, you will see that my contacts is already related and the contact ID should be linked. So if I wanted to see his first name, first name and last name, I can add that to my sheet. And it should be here somewhere. And you can change the cell, the fields, and where they look. I mean, where the fields are by just dragging and dropping. So I'm going to insert a few rows. I'll put a first name and last name under here. Oh, sorry. So this is, I did the wrong linking, I apologize. This was if I wanted to automatically display the first name and last name if I did records from here, but what I wanted to do is link fields from parent sheets. So I'll just drag and drop the first name and last name, and this should display them automatically. There you go. Okay, any questions so far? I'm sorry if that was a bit confusing. Alright, so what happens if I had added a new contact record on another contact? It would also be displayed on my contact record sheet. And let's just do a demonstration. So I'm selecting Peter's record. And let's say called for info. And saved it there. It will also be displayed under my contact records. So if I have like hundreds of contacts and need to talk to them on a daily basis, this will show me all my conversations with them and how it happened. Alright, hopefully that's clear. Any questions so far? If you do have any questions, just let me know through the chat. No? Alright. Okay, so I'll also show you another very common linking type that we use. So let's say I had like jobs assigned by these contacts. I'll create a new sheet under a new tab, projects, save, and my new sheet under this projects tab would be jobs, create, okay, let's say we had a job ID. Then with J, and then let's say that this job ID is going to be related to all my contacts. Let's say these are customers who need something done, and we're responsible of assigning the correct people to them. So to make it related to a certain contact, what I'm going to do is link the contact. So the only thing the person who's filling this job sheet would need their contact ID. If I click Sheet Linking Tools and Link and Load, which was what I tried to explain earlier, and click Contacts, the first link I'm doing is the contact ID, and this is what the person who is filling the job sheet will be selecting. And the first name and last name, as well as the phone and address, will be autofilled by Ragic, pulled from the contacts sheet. And then let's say job, date, status, complete, in process. And that's a very simple form for someone to fill. Now let's exit. So you can see this is just ready to use, just like that. If I had typed, you can either double click and select from any of your contacts over here, or there's also the option to, as you can see, Peter Parker's all like details have been filled from his contact ID. Or if you had wanted to, you can type C00, and you can see you can select from any of the options by typing as well, or clicking on that one field, and all the other related fields will be pulled from your contact sheet, and the rest is just like so. Okay, there are a few more linking types. We're not really going to go through them now, but if you have any other like questions or more specific things that you wanted to do, just let me know. Right now, I do have like half an hour to go through other questions you have. And if you have a case that you're trying to crack and like, how do I do this with Ragic, just let me know now and we'll go through that. Okay, I'm waiting for your questions through the chat. Anyone? Okay, Claudia is saying, hi Baron, if you have hundreds of contacts, is there a search option when you click on the contact ID? Well, if you know their contact ID, it would be really simple. For example, if I were under my contact sheet over here, and okay, so I have hundreds of contacts. Let's say if I know their contact ID, I can just filter by text under the contact ID header. So there's this little arrow next to each field header when you're using the listing page. So if I know their contact ID, like C00002, it will show me that one contact. So that's also doable under your other sheets. And since my contact record ID also will display the contact ID of the person who's related to the record, I can also do that here. I mean, if I wanted to see all Harry Osborne's contact records, and there are like thousands of them because he's my long-time customer, I can filter by text, or it's also shown as an option over here. And I can click to filter all of his ID. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a single field that you're filtering from. If you're searching for, let's say, emails from Harry Osborne, and I know his contact ID, so I wrote it here on the left sidebar, I can also like filter by type at the same time. So you can have multiple filters set on the left sidebar, and if I search for it, there's only one record. So you can pinpoint one record by if you know what the criteria was that you're looking for. And there are many other search options. You can also use the top search bar over here about Harry's things. So if I wanted to search under this sheet for Harry, it should show me all his related info. Yeah, normally. I'm using an offline version, so I think that's not working right now, but usually that's how it works. And viewer 9 is saying, will this webinar be available for viewing at a later date? Yes, it will. I am currently recording it right here, up here. So yeah, I will put this up once it's exported and ready on YouTube, and I will put this on the link on our social media as well as our webinar page. So if you still want to be emailed the video link, just let me know what your email is through the chat. Claudia, have I answered your question? Or maybe there are other search things you want to try? There's also this very neat trick in Ragic. I mean, let's say that Harry and Peter were related. Like, let's say that we had like events and Peter is Harry's emergency contact or something like that. I could have created, let's clear all these filters. I could have created an emergency contact kind of thing over here. So you can see that I'm just leaving this as a free text, and if I saved and exited, you know that I have like the contact ID as the key field. So if I use square brackets, you know, on the upper right side of your keyboard, square brackets, if I write C0001 and close it, this will make a sort of link within Ragic to take me to C001. So that's a trick that you can use. But I don't know what your purposes are of like doing that. So clicking on C001 is going to take me basically to the related record. So it kind of became a link that searches for it. I have 10 more. Yeah, it becomes a link to search for that within this database sheet. So if I clicked on that, it will probably search on the listing page for C0001. Okay, it's taking some time because my computer is really slow. See? So it takes me to Peter Parker's record when I click on this link thing. Hoping that answers your question. Anyone else? Don't be shy. If you have very specific questions, I think I have time to answer them as well. Claudia's saying if she's auto-populating a new entry in that linked sheet, would you have to search through all of them there? Oh, you mean the last job thing? Yeah, I think you mean the jobs that I used their key field to populate the other. Yeah, okay. So let's see. Well, okay, there is another linking method that you can use. I mean, you can still filter through Harry Osborn's job requests under this sheet. But if you have thousands of them, yeah, you only want to see Harry Osborn's, and it's a hassle to like filter through here. You don't really have to do that. You're right about that. This is one of our other types of linking. So you remember how I did C00, like the contact ID through link and load? Since I did that on this sheet, I can go back to where I pulled this data from on my contacts. So this will become a little more clear in a bit. Since I already have one link that I'm pulling to the jobs, I can technically add all the jobs Harry is related to under this sheet automatically. So if I click change design here, under sheet linking tools, you can see there is show references from existing sheets. What does this mean? So remember how I manually created the contact record subtable? That I did by creating fields right next to each other, and it became a subtable. But what I want to do is to display all jobs Harry was related to. So on sheet linking tools, if I select show references from existing sheets, it will create a subtable about the jobs that Harry is related to. And that is understood. I mean, the system understands how these are related by the contact ID, because the contact ID is already linked there. I can add the jobs subtable, and I don't need these because it's already there is already Harry's information on this form, for example. But I might need the job ID, job date, and status. So insert subtable over here and save and exit. So this will list all jobs related to Harry. And if I wanted to create a new job, I would go to the jobs and then let's say there was another project. Under Harry, job date today, status is in process, let's say. We dispatch someone. And then save. So this record is saved under my jobs. And you can see Harry has 2 listed jobs among all the jobs we had. And we go back to contacts. Under Harry's record, there should be multiple jobs, as you can see. So this is just displaying all the jobs related to this contact ID, basically. Does that answer your question? No problem. All right. Anyone else? Oh, and some tip about the job ID. I mean, if you wanted to hover on the job ID over here, it will show you the jobs record on the right side. So you can see the fly-in that pops up from the right. So whenever there's something linked, kind of like this, it will show you the related entry if you have it linked somewhere. And another tip, if the reference subtable I added here, you can't really add new records through here, but it's better to add it on the job ID. For the subtable I created, I can add records from here or through the sheet that I generated from it, but the reference subtable is meant to just display the related entries. So usually you don't do data entry here. If you want to prevent people from doing so, you can click on the header, and then you can see we have a bunch of options in the design mode that are not really often used if you don't really if you're not the database designer, you don't see this at all. But there is something called read only under here, so if you click that, other users who are using your database won't be able to change or add anything to the read-only field. So I cannot click on these basically after I set them read-only. And if I wanted to add an entry, like a job entry anyway, I can just create a button for them to do so. So this is a little bit more advanced, but through sheet linking tools, you can see that my reference subtable, remember, where I added the jobs to here, is showing up under my linked sheets. So I do have that already linked. This gear next to it has some settings. So if I click on the gear, it's saying create a button to add records with new sheet. So this will create a button on my form design that will take the user to the job sheet and add a new record about a job. So if I click this, create job, let's say, you can name this whatever you want. and submit, you can see that I created an action on the left. So this is, you don't really want to modify this. This is fairly advanced, but if you save and exit, you can see that the job pops up on the bottom here. So this is one of my actions. If I wanted to create a job, so look at this from the user's perspective. I mean, you're the person designing the database, but from a user's perspective, he can't edit this. He can go click on here to create a job, and then it takes him to the related sheet, but with the contact he clicked this from. So he clicked the action through Harry's contact record, and if we go to jobs, Harry's is already autofilled. So if you want to make this more automated, then you can make these read-only as well and make them only access this form by clicking over on that side. So if you have like something that is very specific, you can ask us and let us know what you want to design, and we can go point you in the right direction from there. And if I go back to my contacts and refresh this, it will already be under my jobs list. And there you go. Alright, I would like to wrap this up if anyone doesn't have any questions. I do have time if you do have questions, so I'll wait for a couple of minutes for you to be able to write something. Anyone? Okay, all out of questions. I mean, I'm assuming you're all fairly new Ragic users, so if you haven't really started with designing yet, I would recommend you to go and see what the basic types of data you need to have in your database. So if you have, for example, contacts, you can create a contact sheet like this, or if you have vendors that you want to import, you can do so. Or if you have products, you can create a product sheet first. So the basic types are the ones that probably need to be created first, and you can think about all the options that, like, how sheets will interact with each other and how different types of data need to be corresponding with other information, and how will your users interact with that. And I would recommend to think about those things first, and if you need to, creating a flowchart is helpful. If you have any questions, you can email us at support@ragic.com. I'll write that in the chat to our support email address. So if you have a flow but not quite sure how to create it in Ragic, you can let us know. We'll definitely read through and point you in the right direction. Alright, thank you all for joining today, and I will put the recording in probably tomorrow. If you need a link, just write your email with a whisper through the chat to me. but it will be in the webinar page and our YouTube channel, so you can just go to our YouTube channel and look tomorrow. Alright, everyone have a great day. I'll be closing the webinar now, and again, if you have any questions, support@ragic.com is where you write. Okay, have a great day, and bye.